So have we seen it before? We certainly have, right? So we saw the swine flu infect the world stock markets. And these things weren't that long ago. This wasn't like, in the early 1900s, there was an infectious disease going around and, the stock market plummeted. And this was 2009, right? It impacted our markets. It was everything the media could talk about at the time, right? Poultry stocks rocked by the avian flu outbreak, right? 2016, again, relevant content that it did impact the markets. We did see the markets drop because of it. The news was talking about how that would impact Wall Street. Ebola is spooking Wall Street back in 2014. So there are a lot of other instances that we'll go over, but these things happen all the time. And so we want you to know that your portfolio, right, it was built for that. The market's reaction to the epidemics has been fast moving because the diseases are short-lived, right? Now, it doesn't feel short-lived in the present moment because our lives are being impacted, and today not being able to get toilet paper seems like the worst thing in the world, but eventually we're all going to come through this like we have in the past. And so relatively speaking, they have been short-lived. So here's a pretty powerful graph to kind of go over how we have responded and how the markets have responded based on some of those historical events, right? So the dark blue here will be from the start to the crisis peak, right? Crisis peak being the very, very bottom of the market. Light blue is 1 month after that peaked, right? How did the markets perform? And then kind of the medium blue there, the Air Force blue, if you will, is about 3 months after the peak. So we saw with SARS, which has been the most closely tied to the coronavirus, the H1N1. We saw this, before we saw almost a 10% drop. Now we are past that, right? So this is a little bit different because our government's taken drastic action. All of the world has taken drastic actions to kind of mitigate some of the effects. But 1 month after the peak, the market was up 15%. 3 months after the peak, it's up 30%. Now, I don't know that will happen in the future. I mean, certainly I hope so, but we have no idea how the markets will respond once we get through kind of the peak. The other part is, I don't know if we've already experienced the peak, right? If anyone knows that information, please let me know. But I don't know if the markets will continue to go down. I don't know if there's another 20% in there, or I don't know if we've already seen the bottom of it based on the actions our government's taking. But I do know that the people that try to time the market, they've got to be right twice. They've got to get out at the right time. They've got to get back in at the right time. And missing when that spike occurs, the increase could be drastic and have drastic effects in your portfolio. So the swine flu, markets were down about 5%. 1 month later, up about 15. 3 months later, up about 25%. Ebola, again, down about 5%. Up about 7% 1 month later, 8% 3 months later. And then Zika, down about 3%, up about 15% 1 month later, up over 35% 3 months later. So something happened yesterday, right, that's also unique to the situation. So I say, hey, we're down over 20%, since coronavirus has started to be, really spread and the news really take over. Well, what's never happened before in any of these historical data points is we haven't had the Fed cut the interest rate from 0 to 0.25% like they did yesterday and pump $500 billion into the economy by doing bond repurchases, which bond repurchases is the way that the government was able to kind of get us out of the 2008, lows. And so they've already started to take action before we even hit the bottom necessarily to try and spur the economy. So what I don't know is, if a company right now comes out and says, hey, I have a cure to the coronavirus, does all this fear go away? And now we've got all this stimulus in the economy that the market just takes off? I sure hope so, but I don't have the solution to that. I do know, though, that if we stay disciplined and we stay in the markets based on all the evidence, right, we will see the increases in our portfolio. If we're there for the long term, then we can get the returns that we should expect.